Hello everybody, Yom Tov. Yes, I'm a day late again, but you know what, better late than never. All I'm going to say at this stage is it's been one of those days, and you know, we all have one of those days. Well, today was my one of those days. So, today I have been looking at something a little bit different for your folktales, and I'm going to bring you some Indian myths, because we always look at folktales, mythologies, things like that. So today I'm going to bring you some mythologies from India. So without further ado, I hope you're sitting back and relaxing while I give you the bits of information that I've managed to find out about Indian mythology. And I really do hope that you enjoy it. Okay. Most Indian myths and legends have been derived from two of its epic poems, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, as well as from the ancient Hindu texts, the Puranas. The spellbinding stories in these books excite, enthrall, and frighten readers all at the same time. From mystical creatures to unshakable curses, brace yourself for some of the most fascinating Indian myths and legends. Oh, this is one that is about Kali Yuga. In Hinduism, there are 4 distinct epochs, or yugas. We are currently living in the 4th stage, called the Kali Yuga. This era started in 3102 BC, when Lord Krishna left the earth for his heavenly abode after the great Mahabharata war, and thus began the degeneration of human civilization. The ancient Hindu texts of Puranas characterized Kali Yuga as being dominated by avarice, hatred, intolerance, lust, and corruption. In this dark age, the average human lifespan is the shortest, lasting about 70 years, whereas in the first era of Satya Yuga, life expectancy was as long as 4,000 years. Wow, imagine living for 4,000 years. God, the face cream I would have to invest in. Right, then we come on to a figure called the Shisha Naga. Now, this is a cosmic serpent who is believed to support all the planets of the universe on its 1,000 heads. Lord Vishnu, protector of the universe, is often pictured lying down on Shisha's body. It is said that every time the divine serpent uncoils, the creation of life takes place, but when he finally coils back, the world will cease to exist. Shisha, which means the one who remains, is the only one who will continue to abide when everything else in the universe is annihilated. This is why Shisha is also known as Ananta, which translates to infinite. The next one is called Madhavi. Madhavi is a female character in Indian mythology who only bears male children, all of whom go on to become warriors. She also has the power to restore her virginity after every birth. Wow, that's a neat trick. As a guru's... do you know what? Our Naressa Partab is going to kill me for getting all of these wrong. So Naressa, I'm really sorry. As Guru Dakshina, offering to a teacher after the completion of one's education, Galava has to find 800 white horses with black ears for his guru, Vishwamitra. This brings him to King Yayati, who hands over his daughter, Madhavi, to Galava instead. The latter then gives Madhavi to 3 different kings, who in turn furnish him with 200 horses each. Finally, he offers these 600 horses to Guru Vishwamitra, along with Madhavi. Feminists have argued that such legends have constantly reinforced and justified patriarchy in Indian society. Well, I don't know anything about that, so I'm going to ask our Naressa, when she comes to watch the video, if she could give us a bit of background on that, because she is of Indian ancestry, and I believe our Naressa is Hindu, so she will be the best one for us to ask. The next person I want to talk about is the goddess Durga. Now, at the same time, Indian mythology also has fierce warrior goddesses, like Durga, who is the destroyer of evil. But Durga is also known to be kind and nurturing, like a mother figure when she needs to be. In the eastern states of India, like West Bengal, the Hindu festival of Dussehra is centered around a legend surrounding Durga. The celebrations commemorate the homecoming of the goddess after defeating the buffalo demon Mahishasura, who was blessed with a gift that no male could ever kill him. Ooh. Again, amazing. Right. Ram Setu Bridge. Adam's Bridge, most commonly known as Ram Setu Bridge, connects Pamban Island near Rameshwaram in India and Mannar Island off Sri Lanka. According to the Hindu epic Ramayana, the bridge was built by Lord Rama's Vanara 8-man army to help him rescue his wife, Sita, who was a captive under Ravana, the king of Lanka. So that's that one. And then, now we have a curse. Valmiki's curse. Valmiki, the author of Ramayana, is honoured as Adi Kavi, or the first poet. There's a fascinating legend behind how he composed the first ever Indian shloka couplet by accident. One day, the sage witnessed a hunter shoot down a male bird with an arrow. Unable to bear her partner's demise, the female bird too dies of sorrow. Consumed by rage and grief himself, Valmiki put a curse on the hunter, which he unconsciously uttered in a poetic meter. Later that day, Lord Brahma appeared before Valmiki and urged him to write the story of Lord Rama in that very meter, and thus the epic poem Ramayana came to be. So that's an interesting fact. And then there's the story of Matsya. As with many religions and cultures, Indian mythology also mentions a great flood, which once threatened to destroy earthly existence. It is believed that Lord Vishnu appeared in the form of a fish called Matsya to save the world when this deluge took place. However, some ancient texts also suggest that Matsya was the incarnation of Lord Brahma. Legend has it that a tiny fish approached Manu, the leader of the human race, pleading him to save him from a big fish. In return, the aquatic creature promised to protect the earth from the impending flood. Heeding the request, Manu put the small fish in the pot. Day by day, the fish grew bigger and bigger until it had to be placed in the ocean. To save himself from the deluge, the fish asked Manu to take shelter in a boat along with his family, and also instructed him to take various animals and plants and 7 wise sages on board with him. The legend is intriguing because of its uncanny similarity to the story of Noah's Ark. Now here we have the Legend of Ma Mahabalipuram. Mahabalipuram is a town on the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu, renowned for its group of monuments. The Legend of Mahabalipuram states that there were 6 other temples that stood alongside the famous Shore Temple, which was built during the 8th century. The so-called 7 pagodas was so beautiful that even the gods became jealous of it. This caused Lord Indra to instigate a storm that submerged the entire city underwater except for 1 temple. During the tsunami of December 2004, incidentally, century-old sediments were removed from the ocean floor and structures suspected to be the remains of the submerged temples were revealed. So, that just goes to show, doesn't it, that behind the myths there must be some form of truth. If those temples were revealed once all the silt and everything was moved. I think that's really fascinating. So that's what I was able to find about them. So I thought, I must admit, for those ones today, I thought that was really, really interesting. I was also going to read to you something about the Vikings, but there is so much to discover about the Vikings. It's, I mean, the majority of the tales go on about Loki, or is it Loki or Loki? And Thor, obviously, and Odin, and oh my goodness, there's so many different stories and legends and how things came into be. I mean, it would take me all day to be able to tell you all about the Vikings and of course what they got up to. I must admit, what I always found fascinating, I mean, if there are any Trekkies amongst us in the Haven, but the similarities between the Klingons and the Vikings, because the Vikings, obviously, they had Valhalla, which was their version of the afterlife, and of course the Klingons had a very similar concept when it came to the afterlife, which name of it totally escapes me now, and that's absolutely horrifying considering what a Trekkie I actually am. But that's fibro fog for you. You can think about something. Stovercore, that's what it was called. It's come back to me now. The Vikings had Valhalla and the Klingons had Stovercore. So, thank you, Mr. Worf, who was the Klingon on Star Trek Next Generation, for reminding me of that, because I was thinking Michael Dorn, Mr. Worf, Stovercore. So it's amazing to see the little building blocks that you build up, isn't it, to get to where you need to be. And you know, over the weeks I've looked at all the different folk tales and myths and mythologies and everything that we've looked into, and I don't know which ones have been either favourites or most watched or what have you. And I think what would be really, really helpful is, because I know some of you do still enjoy me telling the folk tales, that it would be nice if you were able to tell me, or put up some kind of vote as to which of the different ones that I've done that, you know, you've got the most pleasure from. I don't know whether it's been the Greek mythology, Roman mythology, whether it's been gypsy folk tales. You know, there's just, I mean, I could try and get you a quick Viking one now, and see what we can come up with. No, it's not folk music. I bet you didn't know that you could get Viking heavy metal. You know, right, I'm going to right, let's see, what can I find for you? Norwegian Viking folk tales, Viking myths and legends. Pardon me. Right. Okay. Right. Here's a story called The Curse of Andvari's Ring. Right, this story inspired J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. It's really two separate legends linked by a supernatural ring that brings brutal tragedy to all who wear it. Its colourful cast includes heroic warriors and callous villains, 3 gods, a dwarf, a valkyrie, a dragon, a witch queen, the infamous tyrant Atli, or Attila the Hun as we know him, and another queen who single-handedly destroys him. With multiple gruesome murders, most notably by being suspended over a pit full of poisonous snakes, dramatic suicides, deceits and broken hearts, the plot more than purges the emotions, and it's richly embroidered with enchanted fire, treasure hoards, and birds that possess the power of human speech. Undoubtedly one of the Vikings' favourite stories, the legend is recounted in many ancient written sources, and scenes from it are depicted on a number of surviving Viking Age carvings in England, the Isle of Man, Norway and Sweden. And I know there's some Viking stuff up here in Northumbria. So, anyway, the next story, excuse me, is the theft of Thor's hammer. Now, Viking pagan mythology is dominated by eternal conflict between the gods and their arch enemies, the giants. Among the gods, the role of chief giant basher belonged to mighty Thor. As defender of both the divine and human realms, he had a penchant for smashing in the skulls of giants with his magic hammer, Mjolnir. Mjolnir? This short, humorous tale is a fine example. Mjolnir is stolen by one of the giants, who refuses to return it unless the beautiful goddess Freya agrees to marry him. I think we all know where this is going. Thor gallantly disguises himself as the requested bride. Yeah, I can see that. A truly courageous act in a society where cross-dressing was considered an outrage against virility. Yeah, they weren't very forward-thinking or well-educated or, respectful of other people's beliefs, were they? Thor travels to Giant Land and pretends to take part in the wedding. As soon as the hammer is delivered, in accordance with the bargain, Thor seizes it and destroys the giant in a single blow. Well, that's a hell of a gift for a bridegroom, isn't it? Smack you across the head. Thor's popularity in Viking times is demonstrated by the many pagan temples that were dedicated to him, the large number of miniature Thor's hammer pendants that were excavated, and the prevalence of personal names in the sagas that include the component Thor, for example, Thorun for women and Thorstein for men. There's another quick one called Odin Wins the Runes. During the pagan era, Odin was respected as the mysterious and omniscient god of war, wisdom, death, and fate. Sacrifices were often made to him, particularly in times of conflict. He was also feared, particularly because he sometimes travelled through the human world in disguise, meddling in people's affairs or changing the course of battles. This brief and exquisitely mystical story links Odin to the Vikings' only form of writing during the pagan era, by carving rune letters into wood, stone, metal, or bone. The myth appears in 25 cryptic verses of a poem called Havamal, the Sayings of the High One, possibly dating back to the 9th century. Usually claimed to be in Odin's own words, it describes him sacrificing himself to himself by hanging upside down on a lonely tree for 9 nights. Finally, he has a vision of the runes, alongside the secrets of many esoteric spells. Most surviving Viking stories are very down to earth, but this one demonstrates that the old pagan religion had a highly mystical and spiritual side. And I'll leave you with one more. Oh no, two. I'll treat you to two more. We've got an explosive love triangle between Gudrun, Kjartan and Bolli. This tragic love story forms the central thread of the 13th century Laxdæla saga, probably based on real 10th and 11th century people and events. The beautiful and capable Gudrun, twice married, divorced and widowed at an early age, falls in love with the charismatic Kjartan. However, his father believes Gudrun to be very unlucky, so he tries to extricate Kjartan from the relationship by sending him on a trading expedition to Norway. There he is held hostage by the king, and during his prolonged absence, Kjartan's cousin and foster brother, Bolli, persuades the reluctant Gudrun to marry him instead. Kjartan returns shortly afterwards, and Gudrun realises she has made a terrible mistake. Her regret sparks off a series of inflammatory events, which culminate in Bolli slaughtering his beloved foster brother, who dies in his arms, and then being killed himself in revenge. Intriguingly, the saga reveals elements of Viking Age culture that are mirrored in the modern world. For example, prenuptial agreements, freely available divorce, forced religious conversion, and youths going on gap year style travels abroad. And then the last one of these that I'll leave you with is the Norse discovery of America. 2 medieval manuscripts, Greylandinga Saga and Eric's Saga, claim that in the early 11th century, 500 years before Columbus, Viking men and women reached North America. They describe how an unknown country was initially sighted by a ship blown off course in bad weather, and shortly afterwards by a series of expeditions that set out from the Viking colony in Greenland in order to explore it. Following the strange coast southward, the explorers came to a rich and fertile land full of game and timber. They also found wild grapes growing in profusion, so they called it Vinland, wineland. One group attempted to settle there, including a woman who gave birth to the first European child born on American soil. But they beat a hasty retreat after an altercation with the local Native American people, whom they disparagingly called the Skraelings. For many centuries, these accounts were regarded with great skepticism. However, during the 1960s, a Norwegian husband and wife team of explorer archaeologists followed the descriptions and sailing directions given in the two sagas. Eventually, they found themselves at Lance or Meadows in the northern Newfoundland in Canada. There they excavated 8 11th century Viking-style houses, a forge, and 4 workshops, offering an exciting and conclusive proof that the so-called Vinland sagas really were true. So, Columbus didn't discover America in 1492. It was Vikings. So, that's really interesting, because where I live, we were riddled with Vikings, for years. I mean, I wasn't there at the time, so I couldn't tell you about it. But I must admit, 40 years ago, going out the town at the weekends and having a good drink and going to listen to heavy metal rock bands, you'd honestly think that some of the Vikings had returned. Some of the long-haired guys that I used to hang around with. Wow. Anyway, our time together is coming to an end, and we've gone sort of continental tonight, because we've gone from India to Norway, Sweden and Denmark, possibly a bit of Greenland as well, and maybe Iceland. So I do hope you've enjoyed the little stories that I brought you tonight. I've got to be honest with you, as I didn't want to say anything at the beginning. This is the first ever video that I put together for you that my eyes not been on the job. Normally, as you know, I spend a lot of time trying to find the right stories for you all, and I got some bad news this morning, and I haven't been able to concentrate. You all know that our friend Lorraine is, not very well. She took a photograph of herself, and late last night, and it turns out that they're just giving her the chemo, hopefully to keep her alive, so she can have one last Christmas with her family and her grandchildren. She knows she's not going to make it. That's all she wants. She begged the oncologist to do his best to keep her going, so she could have one last Christmas. But the truth is, she doesn't think she's going to make Christmas. So I've been talking to a mutual friend of ours. This is the three of us. It's myself, Lorraine and Jan. So Jan and I have been, I've been up all night. And Jan and I spent a great deal of time talking to each other today. And trying to think what we can do. But there isn't really anything we can do apart from pray. And hope she gets her wish. So I do apologise if this video appears to be cobbled together. I'm normally a lot better prepared, but I've never lied to you, and I'm not going to start now. Today's video was sort of just cobbled together so that I wouldn't let you down, that I had something to give you. And the reason why there wasn't a video out yesterday was because I did a live stream on Tuesday. And the live stream was stopped by YouTube twice because someone reported me for audio copyright. We weren't even playing any music. We were actually laughing and having a good time. And then the live stream was stopped. Managed to get it going again. Couldn't have been 10 minutes. It was stopped again. So we all managed to try and get back together for the third attempt. And we agreed that if it went with the third report, we would just give up. And we're definitely focusing now on getting Facebook up and running. So I've had to ask people who don't use Facebook because they don't like it, that if they do enjoy the live streams, then the only thing they would need to join Facebook for is our Haveners group, where we will be holding live streams. They don't have to have anything else to do with anything on Facebook apart from the Haveners group, where they're going to be among people that they know. And I'll make sure that there's a link there, and I don't know who the person is. I actually got 3 emails from YouTube, so I've been reported 3 times, but they only stopped the video. I keep saying that, don't I? They only stopped the live stream twice. And I was very lucky. No child strikes. But to report me for audio copyright was ridiculous. Because we weren't playing any music. We were having a good time. I think at most there might have been 16 of us. We were just having some fun. Laughing and, trying to forget about current circumstances and what have you. But somebody who is hell-bent on wrecking the fun of innocent people. So, if you're watching, you won't win. You might think you've won by getting us off YouTube, doing a live stream. But there's no way you'll be able to get in to the new Facebook group, because eventually you'll give yourself away and then you'll be banned. You're not a havener. Whoever it is who's doing this, you are not a havener. And we don't welcome the actions of someone who would be unkind and disrespectful to innocent people. If you have beef with me, then have the guts to tell me. Don't take the cowardly way out and constantly hit the dislike button the way that you do and falsely report me for something that nobody has done. Instead of hiding, come and talk to me. Stop being a coward. Because that's what you are, is a coward. I don't know why can't you just do the thing that a normal person would do? If you don't like me, avoid me. Don't talk to me. Don't come near my videos. Leave me be. Just pretend I don't exist. Because that's what I do to people like you. Once I'm done, and you no longer exist. That's how I treat people who treat me badly. You don't exist anymore. So you will trip up, and I will find out who you are. So you're on mark time. And if you're going to continue to be a coward and hitting the dislike button, go ahead. Feel free. Have a nice day. I've got more important things and better people than you to waste my time on. I've got decent people in this haven who I need in my life. And I ain't going to waste another minute on you. So anyway, guys, I will see you tomorrow for the spooky sessions. Until then, I'm going to say thank you for being here and thank you for watching. Again, I apologise for it being cobbled together, but I didn't want to leave you with nothing. And I'm sorry that it's later than usual. I'll get things sorted out better for next week. I love you all. Please take care. And I will see you again very, very soon. Love you. Bye for now. Bye-bye.